Part of me I never knew. The part of me that isn't true.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Backcourt to Frontcourt, the basketball podcast every fan can relate to. My name is Ezra Smith, and I'll be your backcourt today, facilitating and dishing to our frontcourt Everett Davis.
How's it going?
Episode 1 of what we hope to be many more. To start out, we just want to do some introductions so everybody can get a feel for who it is that they're listening to. You want to start us out, Everett?
Yeah, I'll take it. So my name is Everett Davis. I am currently 19 years old, soon to be 20 in May. I am currently in the U.S. Army, stationed on Fort Bragg. When it comes to basketball, which is the most important thing for this podcast, you don't care about me. I've loved basketball my whole life. Came from a basketball family. You know, mother, father both played. All my sisters played. I'm 6'4", 6'5" in sneakers, and so I've always played center. I've never been good. I would call myself below average. I played second string center all the way until my junior year, where I started on a JV2 basketball team. But when it comes to the NBA and basketball like that, I have a much better understanding. I love stats. I love coaching. I love GMing. I mean, I've loved basketball my whole life, and I think I really got into it in high school. I am a Portland native, so I love the Portland Trailblazers, and I love the Boston Celtics. And that's just my two teams, and that's all you really need to know about me so far. You'll learn more about me as we go.
All right, yeah. And as I said, I'm Ezra Smith. I'm a university student in the Western United States right now. I'm also originally from Rip City, Portland, just outside in the outskirts. Really grew. I played basketball since I was younger. I didn't play in high school or anything. I am not 6'4". I'm 5'9". And I did not play in high school. I played in my middle school C team. And I played in what we called the fifth quarter. It was an extra quarter after the game where you would put in the players who were really terrible. Like that's where I played. And I dropped 6 points. I dropped 6 points once. So that's my career highlight.
You know, but you stayed there the whole season. That's what counts. You were there.
Dude, I love the game.
Love the game. Just so everyone knows, Ezra and I have been best friends since first grade.
Yeah.
I think since first grade. We know each other for a very long time. Played basketball together for a couple of years in our youth days. And then, I mean, since high school, we've been basketball junkies together. We never really had anybody else that was really on the same level as us. So we were our go-tos when it came to basketball.
Yeah. So my favorite players, Steve Nash and Muggsy Bogues. Love the point guards. I wouldn't say I'm a Portland Trailblazers fan. I hate Neil O'Shea. Despise him.
Yeah,
I could do a better job than him. But I'm also a Lakers fan. Not a bandwagon like yay LeBron. But no, I've liked them since they sucked. Only since they've sucked.
You've liked them since Steve Nash became a Laker.
Yeah, I was a bandwagon at first, but then I stuck with it. So yes, I was originally a bandwagon, but I adopted them. So that's kind of funny. I'm Portland and Lakers. You're Portland and Celtics. We are rivals.
I mean, I will say that I'm a Celtics bandwagon, but I will say I have liked the Celtics since Isaiah Thomas. So
he lit it up 6 years ago.
Yeah, I respect him immensely, and so that's when I really started liking the Celtics, and then I also like Gordon Hayward. So even though he's kind of trash this year, but you know, that's whatever. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Go Jazz.
Jazz.
Oh,
all right, it's all you.
All right. Anyways, so the whole goal of this podcast is to kind of just have a more casual way to talk about basketball. You know, obviously we're not professional journalists, so we're not going to have players or any other top people coming on, but this is a podcast that we feel every fan can relate to, whether you're just a person who's scavenging on Bleacher Report or you're into the crazy analytical stuff about it. We feel everybody's going to be able to relate to this because that's really what we are. We're not insane, but we love basketball and we love to talk about it, and that's our whole goal.
Yeah, the fact is, when you look at other podcasts, they always have a niche market that they're looking at. You have fan podcasts, those exist, but they're always they're always oriented like it feels like they're too much towards fans. It's journalists trying to make a podcast for fans, and obviously they're fans too, but they're also journalists, and so they're bringing up popular stories, and then they don't want to do things that are like ridiculous and fun, and we want to talk about things that are silly, things from the past, things in the future, things that maybe a journalist wouldn't bring up, or in a player podcast wouldn't bring up, that sort of thing.
Talk about what the fans want to hear.
Exactly. We don't have HBO breathing on our necks, and so we don't have to worry about any overhead or anything like that. I mean, I'm talking on an Xbox mic right now, so there's not a lot of production value in this. It's just it's casual conversation.
But if we do make money, much
I
appreciated.
mean, I'm getting a better mic. I'm not gonna lie. I'm getting a better mic. I'm a broke boy, so you know what it is.
Gotta get that blood money.
Gotta get that blood money.
All right. So let's dive right in. This is something we're going to be calling the weekly roundup. Just a couple of things that have been going around in the NBA. So Lou Williams broke the NBA bench scoring record. So he now has the most career points off the bench of any player. It's previously owned by Del Curry. So Lou's pretty insane right now. He's 32. It's his 13th season. And he's averaging 20 points in 26 minutes.
Is that his career high?
I don't think it is. No, I think his career high is probably more around the 24-ish range.
Okay.
But in 26 minutes, I looked it up. His usage rate is like in the top 5 in the NBA, and he comes off the bench. So when he's in, it's live or die by Lou. And obviously they're winning. They're living.
Right. Career high 2017, 2018, 22.6 points. Okay.
Yeah. Also off the bench then.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 6-man campaign then.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he's literally started 0 games this year.
That's crazy.
I mean,
He's
0 games.
And he's arguably one of their best players.
Yeah, I mean, for sure.
Obviously.
He's shooting 42% from the field, 35% from the three. I mean, those are great numbers. I mean, that's fantastic numbers. Not only for a bench player, but for somebody in their 12th season?
13th.
13th season.
I mean, he's old.
Yeah. I mean, he's not horribly old, but yeah, you're right.
But especially for a point guard or a shooting guard, I mean, he's only like 6 feet tall or something.
Yeah.
But yeah. So obviously when we're talking about like 6-man, the names that come to mind are like Manu Ginobili, Jamal Crawford. Who's your favorite 6-man? I'm trying to think.
I don't really know. 6 men, they come and go.
Yeah.
I love Manu Ginobili. Was one of the best 6 men to ever play. We know that. That's a pretty basic fact. And he was just a hard worker. So I can't really think back to many like historical 6 men. Obviously James Harden as a 6-man was pretty wild. True. Yeah, James Harden as a 6-man on the Thunder was pretty wild. Thinking back to that campaign when they went up against the Heat in the finals, I think he was on that team, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's one of like the far back finals that I remember watching as a kid. So the idea of Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden on a team with James Harden as the 6-man is kind of ridiculous to me.
R.I.P. Thunder.
But I mean, this season wise, I mean, obviously the 6-man race is obviously everyone's looking at Lou Williams, but I really like Dennis Schroeder. I think he's a great 6-man, especially as a backup for Russ, because Russ has been injured a couple games this season. So he does excellent coming off the bench or starting. And then Julius Randle, he starts sometimes, but he I think as a 6-man he does really great.
Yeah, he dominates on the bench.
Especially last night.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, obviously he'll be starting probably for a majority of his career, but I really think he is suited for the bench.
Yeah,
not trashing his game. It's just if you have a guy that can come out and dominate the second unit.
Yeah. The fact is, he's 6'9", 250 pounds. He's not the size of some centers, and he doesn't have the agility of some power forwards. But you put him in against a weak second string center, and he's still going to dominate. He has the power and the strength. that he will absolutely dominate a second string center.
Yeah. So continuing on, Porzingis is doing 5-on-5 practice, so that's looking good for the Mavs. The Rockets are extending Daryl Morey for 5 more years.
That'd be interesting.
Definitely he's done great things for the franchise.
Right. He's done
he,
a lot of things that are just questionable, that you don't know how it's going to turn out yet.
I would especially say this last offseason, just completely destroying the team that almost beat Golden State. But hey, that's beside the point.
I mean, Chris Paul is a Rocket, that's a great move.
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
The Jazz band handed out 2 lifetime bans. Lifetime. No more. You ain't coming into the Smart Home Arena or whatever it's called.
I always wondered how they enact that, because if you're a fan and you've been banned for life, you give it like 3 years, and you come in under a fake name with like a hat on. It's like, how are they gonna know to ban you?
Well, and especially it's like you just get your tickets from your friend, and you just walk in. Like no one's gonna memorize your face.
Yeah,
but they banned the guy from the Russ altercation just a couple nights ago, which we'll talk about later. But then they also handed out a ban from the playoffs of last year.
Yeah, that video, the Twitter video, I saw that during their playoffs. And I remember that people were freaking out about that, but the Jazz made no response against that back then.
They're taking charge. Watch out.
Yeah,
I'm scared to go to Jazz games now.
You shouldn't be. You're not a bad person.
But it's such a far drive. So I'm scared. I hate driving.
I'm excited about that topic. There's just some weird things I want to talk about when it comes to like fans and players and stuff.
It's going to be good.
What's next?
Ibaka went full on MMA on Marquise Chris.
Jesus.
The hoop.
I mean, it was I want to say incredible, but that sounds too good.
Yeah.
I was dumbfounded when I watched that happen. I didn't watch the game, but when I woke up the next morning and I was looking through Twitter and Bleacher Report had that clip, I mean, I've seen, I watch Malice in the Palace on YouTube and stuff, but I have not seen many fights like that where there's just somebody looking to just murder somebody else.
Yeah, that was like, you said like a little earlier when we weren't on the podcast, that was like he was a savage.
Yeah,
savage, but like,
yeah,
I'm going to kill Marquise Chris.
Now, and it escalated so quickly too. Like you watch the video and not much happens.
And then all of a sudden he's storming and choking him out. And Marquise Chris is like, help.
I know Marquise Chris, he's not a big guy. Like we're gonna be honest, Marquise Chris is not like he's not like a big like
second or third guy.
Yeah, and so when a Serge Ibaka comes charging at you, I would do exactly what Marquise Chris does and run. I know Ibaka got, what was it, a 3-game ban?
Yeah, Marquise Chris got 1.
Poor Marquise.
Which I think is fair. Did you see all the like videos about the guy in the background? Like
no, I didn't.
In the blue suit.
No.
It's like this guy, and he's watching it happen, and his mouth is just wide open, and he's just like,
I love fans in the background.
Out.
If you watch it, what I thought was funny is like, Serge goes like it's nobody expects it, and Ibaka just goes at him, and like if you watch all the players in the video, like watching when the second they realize what's going on, how like they all just look, and then it clicks in their heads, and they just start running over there to try to help Marquise Chris because
nobody wanted anything to do with it at first. They were like, gonna take a step back here.
Both teams don't want to get in the way, but they also
gonna just sit and watch for a second.
All right, what's next?
Rest in peace, Marquise. Andre Ingram. I don't know if you know who that is, but I do. Back on the Lakers. 10-day contract. Get that bag, boy.
The best Ingram to ever play for the Lakers.
Oh gosh, Brandon Ingram's, he's dying. Okay, he's gonna be fine though.
He's fine though. Yeah, he'll
be
fine.
back next season.
Yeah,
and it's fine. We're trying to tank now, anyways. We don't need to win.
But
anyway, Andre Ingram, lifetime G Leaguer, 11 years. Obviously,
he might be the first G Leaguer to ever make it to the NBA Hall of Fame.
he should. Like when he played last season near the end, and he dropped like 20 or 30 or something. It was crazy.
Ridiculous. It was 20 something if I remember right.
And then now he's back, and that's great. And LeBron's happy. I
Hmm.
don't know why LeBron's still playing. I think he's out for load management
He
tonight or
was.
something.
He had to
Got to
take
take care
he
of
had to
his
take a load
load.
off,
Yeah,
so he had to care for his load.
you got to watch your loads. Speaking of LeBron, as everybody probably knows, he passed MJ for career points. He's now fourth.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, fourth.
so that's a lot of points.
That's a lot of points.
Building up to his GOAT status, I suppose.
Yeah, you
But
can
we're
say
not going to talk on controversial topics.
no. Eventually we will, but that's too stereotypical of a topic to
Yeah,
talk about.
that's got to be later once people actually like us. And
Once we have a minimum of 3 listeners, after 3 years of doing this,
yeah,
after we get one listener a year,
listener
then
year.
yeah, that's the goal, man. A listener a year. That is not friend or family, right? That is not somebody we know.
Oh, because you know my mom will be listening to this, even though she does not know a thing about basketball.
You're right.
She will listen to this whole thing. You're gonna get 500 views just from her.
Just your.
All right,
All right. Well,
let's
that wraps
delve
up.
right in.
That wraps up the
Oh
big
yeah,
roundup. So
that's true. That wraps it up.
yeah, I mean that's about what happened this week. I mean, there's other things that we could mention, but I think that's a good roundup.
Yeah.
So you want to get to the first main topic?
All right, main topic. This is gonna revolve around what happened on March 11th with Russell Westbrook and the Utah fan. Very
Right.
near to my heart, as I am such a huge Jazz fan. But
It's your people, your Utah people, over there. That's the problem.
now everyone knows I live in Utah. I introduced myself as Western United States.
Well, I said I was stationed somewhere, so you live in Utah. That's what it is.
Who's gonna come charging in on some dude in the army?
Listen, if you die from this podcast, I will personally hunt the person down that killed you. Okay.
Gonna go. I was gonna say John Wick, but I'm not your dog, so that doesn't quite work.
It doesn't quite work. Also, I'm not like that. I'd probably just wait until I don't know. I'd be a horrible John Wick. But let's get back into it.
Okay, so
Bad fans, Utah Jazz.
here's what happened.
Hmm.
Obviously, Russell Westbrook's on the bench, or he's just kind of standing there.
Mhm.
Utah fans supposedly, according to Russell Westbrook, tells him get on your knees like you used to, along those lines. Obviously,
Right.
racist overtones. The fan says that he said, "Get back on the bench, get back with that ice on your knees." Which, if you look at the video, he does have bags of ice on his knees.
Right.
But we're not here to take sides. Well, not like in that. But so Russell's response to this is, "I'll f you and your wife up. I'll f you up." A lot
Mhm.
like that. It's on video. You can go see it. Maybe we could throw in a sound bite. Probably not.
I mean, I could, but we'll figure it out.
Trying
No,
to keep-
just real quick to that, like I've seen both the videos and or the first that video you're just talking about, and he's like ice on your like that dude is definitely covering for himself. Like, I'm just gonna say that he definitely said get on your knees. I mean, I've yelled at a ref before myself. I've yelled, "Ref, get off your knees! You're blowing the game." It's pretty obvious when somebody's just getting out of hand, and that dude was definitely getting out of hand. You can hear it in the video. But continue.
I listened to the. I couldn't hear what the fan was saying. You can just hear Russell Westbrook, which is obviously what they're pointing for. I mean, I don't think I've heard many takes from other surrounding fans on what they're saying. But I mean, it's not like they're gonna side
No,
with
they don't care.
Russell
No.
Westbrook unless they're like also African American or if there are other social, people who
Well,
are
I
trying
mean,
to fight injustice and things like that.
right. I mean, well, I don't see why they would. Who cares? I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have any relation to that player. If he's being, and I mean, the fact is, nobody wants to be correlated to that guy. The media
Yeah.
and the Jazz have decided that what he said was inappropriate. No matter what he said, whatever it was, it's now deemed inappropriate, and so nobody
Yeah.
wants to be related with that guy.
And yeah, it's not a good thing if that is what he said. That's of course not good.
No, of course not.
But this is mainly on Russell's reaction. Obviously, it's perfectly fine to be upset, but I found this quote NBC Sports Washington. They interviewed the Wizards with regards to this. Bobby Portis, he said, "I love when fans go after us. This is our job, and they pay their money to come say what they want to say. They pay big money to come watch us. We're entertainers, so I think they have that right. I saw the conflict between Westbrook and the fan, but each guy said different things."
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts on Portis's take? Obviously, he's not like saying the fans in the right for saying racist things, but I mean,
Yeah, I mean that's what he said is true. These fans, they are paying to come to the game. They in a way they are paying these players.
yeah,
That's
and
how they make
they're
their
paying
money.
they're paying for the opportunity to support their home team, and whatever method they take for supporting, whether you're the guy from the Blazers who is free throw man, rest in
Yeah.
peace, he left, but he's not
Mhm.
dead. But or you want to yell terrible things to players. I mean, I
The-
would
the-
say that's your right, but it's not your right as a human being to degrade
no,
other people.
no, and exactly. It's if you want to go there, if you want to buy a couple $1,000 seats and yell that's kind of horrible stuff at other people, I mean, be my guest, but you're not free from punishment.
Yeah,
It's a
trust
privately owned game. It's a privately owned organization. Everything about the NBA, people have to remember, is a business and like they will govern themselves
the
and
business.
protect themselves. And so like a fan like that is bad press. You don't want a fan like that in your arena. And so especially now, if there are fans like that, before it gets out of hand, these teams, these organizations are going to take a stance before that, and they're going to make things happen. And so, be my guest. Go and do it. I dare people to go and do it because nowadays, it's going to be on them. You know,
Yeah,
which I'm
and
not horribly against. Go there, support your fans. You can heckle without being
racist.
racist and rude. Like, there's no
Yeah,
point to that. Russell Westbrook wasn't. Was he playing that night? Was he? What was
yeah,
he?
he
What
was
was he doing
playing.
that night? So regardless, like he's not even on the floor yet. You're not doing anything besides just aggravating somebody. Like let your team get in their heads. Let the other players get
Yeah.
in their heads.
And now nobody take this the wrong way, but I'm kind of on the side that Russell Westbrook has brought this upon himself. I'm not saying the racist remarks or anything like
That's
that. Just
Mhm.
just the teasing.
Right.
Because if we look back, so a few weeks ago he was hit by a fan like a child. So not like an adult. He was
I
hit by
remember
a
that.
child a
Yeah,
few weeks
kids
ago.
stood up. Yeah.
Mhm. There was issues in the Utah playoffs last year. Players have figured out that they can get into Westbrook's head, or not players, fans. Like
hmm
he reacts, and so it's just like your little brother teasing you. If you give him that reaction that he wants, if he pokes you and you get angry, he's gonna poke you again.
Yeah.
And
I
so I
mean,
think,
Westbrook is an expressive player. That's just the truth.
yeah,
Especially as a Portland fan, like Portland
oh,
and
we
the
hate him.
Thunder, they go. I mean, they go back and forth all the time. But the thing about Westbrook is he's allowed to be expressive. You know, um, and a lot of times, I don't think they get in his head all the time because sometimes Russell, you get in his head and he does the Michael Jordan thing and goes off for 30, 40 points.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
wouldn't say they're getting in his head.
no,
I would just say
and
that he's gonna have to learn to expect this because it,
well,
it
learn
gets
to
it gets reactions.
learn to expect hazing and then learning to expect hate are two different things.
Yeah,
When a player goes up to a free throw line, you yell. Brick, you're gonna miss it. You're gonna miss it. Stuff like that. Um, even back to our high school days, we used to do that. I mean, the stuff we used to yell used to be ridiculous. People used to yell, "There's a snake at your feet," which made no sense, but we yelled it. That kind of thing. But that's different than telling somebody get on your knees, or I mean, if he said get ice, put ice on your knees, whatever he said, that's one thing. But regardless, Russell Westbrook heard get on your knees, and so that's what he heard, and that's what I'm gonna go off of because this is about his reaction,
yeah.
and people yelling that and people calling him boy, that video like that is ridiculous. Like you never call somebody who is an adult man and a man. I mean, Russell Westbrook is a man. Like that dude is a big body,
Oh,
and
he'll mess you up.
he'll mess you up, and you do not call something like that boy, especially in a demeaning way like that. You know
Yeah, because we all know what that relates back to.
exactly. That is definitely racial
We're not
correlation,
idiots.
and that's just. I mean, you can't. That's disrespect. You can't be okay with that kind of disrespect. And the NBA isn't saying don't heckle. The NBA isn't saying that. They're saying be respectful. This is a league. This is a business. This is a competition. It's fun. We should all have fun. We can take it seriously. Players take it seriously,
Yeah,
but it should still be fun.
yeah. So obviously Russell Westbrook, he's calling on the NBA for protection. Colin Cowherd, who does a podcast too, does a show on TV. He's great. He called on Adam Silver to protect players, pointing out that in football, baseball, hockey, whatever, the fans are always separated from the players. Hockey has a wall. Football has just, I don't know, big concrete distance. Baseball, they spread them out, things like that.
Well, baseball fans are completely like they're not even on the same level as the field.
They're far away.
Yeah.
And this has just been happening in other sports. Just a couple of weeks ago, there was that soccer player who got punched in the back of the head. Did you see that?
Yeah, dude jumped out of stands, ran up, and just punched him. Yeah.
So there's and Colin Cowherd, he was saying how the NBA, it's obviously very successful. So they're trying to squeeze in the money because those tickets, those courtside tickets, that's where the money comes. And so they'll push broadcasters farther away to squeeze more tickets. I mean, NBA players are sitting right next to the fans.
Right. I mean,
you look at that bench and you're like, who is that guy? That's a fan just sitting right next to the 13th man.
Yeah, exactly. And then you look at who sits in those seats, and it's celebrities. You see it's either celebrities or rich people you just don't know about. It's that kind of people.
Yeah.
Those seats are selling.
Oh, he's got money.
Those seats are constantly selling, and it's a status thing for some people.
Does the NBA need to get rid of those seats?
I think it's a great question.
A couple hundred seats, I think.
Well,
actually, it's just on one side. You just got to separate from the bench.
I mean, that's the thing. It'd be maybe one or two rows, maybe a total of 40 seats, because it's not on the basketball. It's not on the hoop sides. The hoops. The closest people that are by the hoop are the cameramen and the rag boys. But the question is, it comes down to the stadiums. I feel like, what do they want? What are they willing to risk? Because if you have players like that, you're risking that, and you're risking the negative press from other players saying, "I hate playing there." Which you've had multiple players already come out to say that the Utah Jazz has the worst fans, and that's not good for the Utah Jazz. And his Cantor came out and said that just recently. Actually, I think his was last year. Was his last year?
Maybe.
I forget when his was.
Snake, I just remember. Snake 2.0.
I'm trying to remember when that was.
And his Cantor.
And his Cantor. But that's just how that's up to it has to be up to the stadium and the team itself. I guess it'd be more the team, not really the stadium. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you can do is remove those seats around the bench, and that's just gonna. And I believe that does come down to, because it's the NBA who makes the money off these games. Mm-hmm. So is it their decision on how many seats a stadium puts in? Because is the NBA like with the Moda Center, is the NBA? It's Moda Center.
When it comes to stadiums, the teams, it's a lease. It's a 10-year. They do 10, 20-year, 30-year deals, and so they're going to get paid no matter what, because these stadiums they're not exclusive. Well, it's the NBA or the team itself, because you look at each stadium and how the team sets it up, and it's all different. The stadium is setting it up for the team because the stadium runs those, but the organization can decide, because those stadiums are used for multiple things. Concerts.
That's right. It's just a building.
Right. I mean, I've gone and seen a monster truck rally at the Moda Center, and then a week later gone and watched a basketball game, and I was like, I can't believe this is the same.
And then
exactly.
Then you watch some hockey, and then.
And so it can all be changed. So these teams have the opportunity to do that. Again, it's up to them. It's the opportunity to get economic on you. It's the opportunity cost. Is the value of those seats worth the potential negative press or potential bad fans? Maybe they need to do better screening. Maybe not allow kids that close. Maybe it's specific fans who almost have to go through an interview to make sure they're not going to be and sign waivers or sign paperwork saying they're not going to be bad fans. You know what I mean? But that fan yelling at Russell Westbrook, I mean, he was behind the announcers. He was 4 or 5 rows up, and he was just yelling at him. I'm pretty sure.
Wasn't he behind the hoop too? Russell was at the end of the bench. He was kind of walking on the baseline. I think the fan was up behind the hoop.
Let me look at the video. I thought it was
not even necessarily extremely close, just yelling loud so that Russell could hear him.
I'd have to.
But I mean, that's the thing. When it comes to that, there's nothing you can do about that. The fan hitting, you can move player or fans farther away from the players. But with the yelling, I mean, you can't do anything about that. If a person's going to yell, they're going to yell.
You're right.
You can hand out a lifetime ban, but there'll just be somebody else.
Mm-hmm. It looks like that he was, from the way Westbrook is pointing.
It's like, oh
yeah, it's either and it's like those corner seats, the alley seats, where the players come out of. It's tunnel. Around that. It might be. Yeah, it's around the tunnel seats. That's what it is. The tunnel seats.
Yeah.
So he's far away, but I mean, still, I mean, you're right. You can't control that. You can't always control that. And I mean, that's the risk. I mean, that's with any fan. You bring fans anywhere, and that's the risk that's going to happen. But the teams have to respond correctly. And I think the Jazz responded.
Yeah. Jazz responded.
They responded quickly and harshly enough that people are going to think twice before rudely and disrespectfully targeting players. And targeting players is where it comes when it gets shaky.
I do also think, though, that some of the responsibility lies with players to, like Porter said, be professionals and understand that that's a part of the game. It's hard. It is hard when somebody, calls out your family, calls out your race, things like that, to sit back and just take it, because nobody wants to sit back and take it. That's your pride.
No, exactly.
It's such a gray line.
Yeah, Russell Westbrook he's a man, and he has a family, he has a culture, he has everything that he is endowed to protect, that he's allowed to defend. Now, it's you can argue.
I would say calling out the wife was a little
right, and you can argue
much,
and you can argue all day. People. I mean, you can say that his response equaled the insult. You can say they're on the same level. Two wrongs, do they make it right? Probably not. But the NBA did respond. They fined him $25,000, which is more money than I'll ever have at once, probably in the next 10 years.
I got fined out, my life's over.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, I see both sides of it. I see both sides of it. He has a right to defend himself. And if he wants to go as far as to insult, go after the wife, go after the guy, then he's going to get fined. And
if he's willing to take that fine, then he can do whatever he wants.
Right. And if the NBA wants to step it up, if the NBA doesn't like that, then the NBA needs to step up the fine. The NBA has to raise that fine to $50,000, $75,000, $100,000 to
something that actually matters.
Right. To give the incentive not to do it. But until then, if players are willing to take that fine, then they're going to do it. And as long as it's a response to me, as long as it's defensive, then I can not mind. I can take my hands off of it. I won't get behind it, especially when it's like threatening people. But I can take my hands off of it. I'm not gonna chastise them either. If somebody insults me, I insult them back. I mean, I try to. You want to turn the other cheek, but if it's harsh enough, then you're gonna go after them.
Yeah, for sure. With regards to what the NBA can do or anything, you can protect players from physical contact. You take away seats. But with regards to this whole Russell Westbrook situation, there's not much you can do about that. And I think
yeah, I mean, they've both sides of, I mean, both things that have been done in response to this, I think were smart. They were done quickly. And if changes need to be made, we will see the changes made. Adam Silver is a fantastic, what's his title? League commissioner.
Commissioner.
Yeah. Adam Silver is a great commissioner, and he is, he's gonna do what's necessary to protect the players.
Yeah.
And the NBA and fan culture, it's so great that we're allowed to be that close to the fans that we don't want to lose that.
Well, yeah, it's different. It's different than other sports. I mean, obviously hockey has to have their wall. I don't think it's for the protection. It's for the protection of the fans, not the players.
Right.
I don't want to be hit by a puck. But yeah, those sports where you can get that close, it just makes it so much better.
Right. And I mean,
that's why I don't care. I care less about hockey, but I'll go to a hockey game. I love just sitting that close and watching some dude get pounded.
And what?
Edit that out.
And the great thing about that too is something that I just read an article on today. The reverse of that, having fans that close, is things like this, like the sneaker giveaways. People like Russell Westbrook. I mean, so many NBA players. Yeah, giving their sneakers away to kids, to fans. If they're away and they see somebody in their jersey, doing that kind of stuff. If you have a wall, I mean, you can do that in any sport, obviously, but it's so much easier for the player to do it. With people close, you can see that. You can see that person right there. You can hear them cheering you on, and when you're at a home game and you have players like that, that's great, and they don't want to lose that. None of us wants to lose that. I mean, we'll see what happens. It's a developing thing, and the league is always changing, so we'll see what changes. But you want to move on?
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I think I'm bringing up to this podcast, the first podcast. I'm trying to bring a little bit of spice to it. These that's a heavy topic, so we're gonna flip it on its head a little bit.
Yeah,
and
I
we're gonna
think
do
we
a
should
trivia.
clarify. Every episode, we're going to have the back court, which is me right now, who's going to facilitate. And then we have our front court, who's going
Which is
to,
me right
catch
now.
that ball and dunk it, which is
Yeah.
Everett. And so we're typically going to bring three main ideas, which will be kind of more in-depth, longer topics, which will be brought by your back court. And then the front court will have two sub-topics to kind of lighten the load.
Yeah, and then that's just the idea. We might change it up. That's just the current plan to go about it. So again, I'm the front court this week, so I'm bringing up a kind of a smaller idea. It's kind of a shorter topic. And this week I'm just gonna go with some trivia because trivia is fun.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I mean, people like to listen. If you listen to something, you want to take something away from it, right? And our opinions probably mean diddly squat to most people. So I want to bring something that you can at least leave and think, oh, I know that. I know something now.
I've been enlightened.
Right. So it's not just going to be me spouting out trivia, though. I'm going to be asking Ezra, because Ezra is a very knowledgeable person. Ezra is a very smart guy when it comes to facts. So I'm going to hit him with some stuff, and we're going to see what he's got. Show me your hands. I'm going to make sure that your hands are not. I don't hear you typing. I don't hear you type. No, not the whole time. I'm going to trust you.
Keep him like
I'm gonna
this. Here we
trust
go.
you. Okay, there you go. Just like that. I can see his hands. For everybody listening, I can see his hands. We're on Skype, everything like that. Okay, so I'm going to start with this. This is an easy one. I was thinking about this because a lot of people are talking right now about LeBron's age and talking about there's a lot of questions about age right now because the players getting old right now are like the first players that I remember growing up with. So it's kind of a weird time for both of us, I feel like, because players are actually getting old. And, Dwayne Wade is leaving the NBA,
Crazy.
Dirk. I mean, I expected Dirk to leave.
Yeah, Dirk should have been gone years ago. That's for another.
Dwayne Wade, he's leaving the NBA, but he's still he's helping keep his team in the playoff race.
He still got 15, 16 points a game.
Which, some NBA stars, LeBron can't save.
If he hadn't gotten injured, they'd be in the playoffs.
Which is another great point. LeBron's injury, that's huge.
Weird.
I personally haven't seen that. I can't remember.
He's never been injured.
Right, and so
he broke his hand in the finals and still played.
Yeah,
wasn't that last year?
That's crazy. That's age getting them. So I looked up, and here's a question for you: Who is the oldest player to average 20 or more points per game? And who was it?
Not gonna lie, you shared your screen and you showed this doc, so I know it's Karl Malone.
That is cheating, and I hate you.
I don't know any. That's the only one I saw.
That's fair. So yes, it is Karl Malone, the 2002, 2003 Utah Jazz.
Played then.
Right, I know. It
seems like such an ancient player.
Right, and I agree. He averaged 20.6 points per game. He played 81 games that season, started all of them. So he was,
old was he?
39.
Ooh,
old. 39 years old, very old. Played 81 games throughout the whole season. He also was averaging, where is it at? Let's see here. He was averaging 1.7 steals per game, 1.7, 4.4 blocks, 7.8 rebounds per game, and 4.7 assists.
How many minutes was he playing?
Minutes a game? Where is that? There, 36.2 minutes per game.
Jeez.
So he was still playing. I mean,
I feel like Dirk plays like 5 minutes, and I think he has to take 5 days off every time.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he does. Karl Malone. You think about Karl Malone, that dude's an absolute, he's an absolute beast.
Well, then we got like Vince Carter. He's like 42, isn't he? And he's still balling out. He's gonna play till he's dead.
I think Vince is 40 or 41. I'm not sure how old Vince Carter is.
He's an old man, but he's balling. Because it's so funny that he still has those nights where it's like Vince Carter just dropped 20. Are you kidding?
Yeah, you're right. He's let's see. How many points? He's averaging 7.1 points per game right now.
Yeah, man.
He's played 64 games. Has he? No, he's played. 64 games.
More than LeBron.
Oh, oof.
Howie, oof.
Is he on a 1-year deal?
I think so.
So the Lakers grab him next season.
They should trade Trade LeBron to the Hawks for
Oh, Jesus.
Vince Carter and John Collins. There we go.
Yeah, that's it. Not even
That's
Trae Young.
no.
No,
I like Trae Young. No beef on Trae
I
Young.
like Trae Young.
I want to see him succeed on his own.
All right. All right. Next bit of trivia. This is something we've talked about before. You might have seen the question, but maybe I hope you didn't see the answer.
I didn't see any other answers.
Okay. How many players? This is pretty dark. Okay. How many players on an NBA team have to die to enact the disaster draft?
Oh my gosh, I looked this up once because I
Yeah.
just wanted to know. Isn't it like it's not 5? Or is it 5? Because that's like
What's your answer?
Oh gosh. Fine. 8.
It's 5.
Ah!
Yeah, it is
Dang
5.
it. I knew it.
And how does do you know how the disaster draft works?
Yeah, you can only protect, is it 2 players or 3? No, it's only 5.
Yep. You can only
You can
5
basically
players.
protect your starting lineup and then the rest get put into a draft.
Yes.
I want
via
the
Wikipedia.
Seattle Supersonics to become. I don't want a team to move. I want them to become an expansion team so we can have an expansion draft.
That'd be interesting. But yeah, the NBA disaster draft is a contingency plan that activates if 5 or more players on a team die or are dismembered. So if 5 of your players their legs cut off,
ah crap, my leg
is enacted. It was enacted, I believe, in the 1960s. I think. I think it was what was one of the old New York teams called? Was it the Bullets? The New York Bullets?
No, it's Washington.
Washington, you're right. Who was the old New York team then? One of the old New York teams that don't exist anymore. Or
was it like the ABA team or something?
I think so, but they almost crashed. They were in an airplane, and 10 of the players almost died in an airplane crash.
Oh.
Now the airplane landed, and everyone was okay. But after that, the NBA enacted the rule of the disaster draft.
Like, man, what if they died?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the NBA's disaster draft. I mean, you think about it, and if you could make a team out of 6 men, like we just talked about a little bit ago, you could have a pretty decent team.
You'd be great.
Yeah.
Because especially since you're gonna get starters.
Right.
Because somebody's gonna be like, oh, well, I don't want to give up this bench rookie I have.
Yeah.
Like, he's a bench player, but like he's got a future.
Right, exactly. And so you're either getting tons of rookies, or you're getting tons of good 6 men, because each team can only protect 5 players, but you can only draft 1 person per team. That's another rule that the disaster draft has.
Oh snap! All right, I'm going to a roster right now. Let's pick like a couple teams and see who we would protect.
Okay. Let's say you pick a team, and then I'll pick a team, and we'll just do 2 teams like that.
All right. Well, first, let's say what team completely just died.
Worst team in the league right now,
Suns.
which is the Knicks.
Let's say Suns. Suns are dead.
Suns? Do you just hate the Suns? You trying to kill the Suns?
Suns are dead. So I'm just thinking,
right.
The people they'd protect, who would be left?
Okay,
I can't even think of that.
You have to consider how many people died, because the team can only draft as many people as died.
Let's say all of them died.
Let's say all of them.
Yeah, the entire Suns team just crashed.
Jesus.
And they're all dead.
Let's say no. I don't want to kill anybody. They're dismembered. Okay. They're dismembered.
They lost
every team. Everybody. They all survived the plane crash, but they've all lost a hand for some reason. All of them have lost their right hand. Okay. So you pick a team.
All right, I'm just gonna go random on this app. Boop.
Okay.
Oh, I'm the Magic. Great.
Oh, yeah.
Well, now I'm gonna dismember myself.
All right, I'm gonna pick let's see, I'm gonna do a random one.
Oh man.
Bucks. I got the Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Bucks.
All right.
All right. So you're on the Magic. So
I'm the GM of the Magic. I have to protect 5 players.
You have to protect 5 players, and then we're gonna say who we would select after you protect the 5 players.
Okay. All right. I'm protecting Mo Bamba. Markelle Fultz. You never know.
Oh, Markelle Fultz, interesting pick.
Aaron Gordon.
That's a good one.
Jonathan Isaac. Basically all the young guys.
Right.
And then I just got to pick one random crap hole. Evan Fournier.
Okay, if I'm a GM from a team that just exploded, I'm not going to draft anybody from the Magic. The Magic can keep their roster.
Oh, you
Personally.
take Vucevic. I didn't protect Vuce.
I don't want Vucevic. I can get a better center.
Dude,
I'll probably
true,
get
and
a
he's
better
only
center.
on a 1-year deal.
I mean, you'd think 29 teams so that I can only pick one person to play from. I need 15 players. That means what is that? That's 14. No wait, how many? Jesus, I can't
A
math.
lot of players. It's a
Yeah,
lot. Don't try to
yeah.
math.
It's 14. It's 13 teams that I no, it's 14 teams. Jeez.
It's third. Well, no, because everybody on the Suns is dismembered.
Exactly. So I'm saying
Oh
you
wait,
pick
you
from
were
15.
drafting.
You
Okay,
pick from 15, and because you can only pick one player per team.
it's
by the
70
rules.
players. No wait, oops, that was
No,
wrong.
this is all I'm
70
saying.
protected players.
All I'm saying is you're not going to pick a player from 14 teams. 14 teams are not going to get their player picked because you can only pick 15 players if you're drafting a whole team. You know. So if I'm probably not going to pick anybody, but if I had to, you're right. Vucevic, I
Or
could go
Terrence
with
Ross.
Terrence Ross. Did you protect Jonathan Isaac? I think that was one of them.
I did.
Yeah. So I can't go him. I mean, is Michael Carter Williams? I mean, I would never do that, but he's
Ooh.
there. Um,
Yeah, I told you this team's
Still
good.
young. He's still young.
Take
Okay,
DJ Augustine.
DJ. Oh, that's another decent point guard.
But like, you think how many starting centers are going to be on the market though? Like Vooch, he was an all-star.
You're right. I mean, that's fair, but you're probably
The
right.
defense isn't there, but
I don't know. Vooch was an Eastern All Star, and I won't get into that. I'm not
Go
going to get
East.
into the All Star season already passed. I'm not going to give my opinions on the All Star.
all right. What's your
all right.
team?
Bucks. I got the Bucks.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's a good one. This is a good one.
No way you protect Giannis, right? He's gone.
So immediately, I'm protecting Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's a given. I'm going to protect Chris Middleton. The two All Stars. I'm going to protect Eric Bledsoe. Malcolm Brogdon. Yeah, I'd probably. That's tough. And then it comes down to, I guess, Mirotic or Brooke Lopez, or I'll go. I'll say Mirotic.
Mirotic.
Yeah. So you still have Brooke Lopez. George Hill is still there. Ersanio Silva.
What am I drafting for? Do I take a young guy? I mean, I'd probably just take Brooke Lopez.
Yeah.
Well, he's pretty old. I don't know. That's a tough one because I don't know
30.
who I don't
He's
know
not
who I've
old.
already taken.
Right.
It would either be
who would you be
him.
interested in? Who would you be interested in?
Yeah, it would either be Brooke Lopez or I want to say Dante DaVincio, but I don't know if he'll ever pan out.
I mean, yeah, those are good picks.
Yeah, I don't want George Hill. I don't care about George Hill.
Sometime
Yeah,
soon.
Brooke Lopez or Tony Snow.
Oh, Tony Snow. Yeah. Sometime soon we'll do a maybe
Do a full one.
we'll do a full one. We'll say that we'll do a full disaster draft. And we'll bring our picks to the table.
With the Suns dead.
Right. Well, we'll figure that out. That'd be fun. All right, let's move on to the next one though. I don't want to take up too much time. Okay, this one's a simple one. This is a do you know question, and it's who is the winningest coach in NBA history?
Oh man, I'm so bad. Isn't it Greg Popovich now?
Nope. I believe he's third or fourth overall at this point.
Mm-hmm. No way, it's Phil Jackson.
Nope.
It's gonna be some old dude that I don't know.
Yeah, it is. You're right. It is Don Nelson.
Who was he a coach of?
He was the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks, the Golden State Warriors, the New York Knicks, Dallas Mavericks, and the Golden State Warriors again.
As far as I'm concerned, back in the old days, those teams. Well, he must have been the Bucks when they had Kareem.
He coached from 1976 to 2010, and he won 1,333 games.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah, so he is pretty dang good. He is also, as a player, a 5-time NBA champion.
Player?
Yep.
He played. Whoa, way back when.
Oh yeah, he was in round 3 of the 1962 draft, round 3, which existed back then.
They used to have so many rounds.
And he was picked 17. He was selected by the Chicago Zephyrs.
What?
which are now the Washington Wizards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
Zippers.
he had a interesting career.
Who did he
Yeah,
win
there's
his
not.
championships with?
Let's see here. In his first season, so I think Boston.
Huh.
Yeah, let's see, he played for the Zephyrs for one season and then was acquired by the Los Angeles Lakers in 1963. After 2 years with the Lakers, he was signed by the Boston Celtics. In his first season with the Celtics, he averaged 10 points, 5 rebounds, helping the Celtics to their 66 title. And then he got all the titles with them in those years,
It's
And
part of
then
the Robert Parrish heyday.
right. And then he has I don't think he has any titles as a coach though, which is too bad, but Coach of the
Joke.
Year 3 times and All-Star Game head coach twice. So, pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Good for Don.
Good for Don. Just a
Go
basic
Don.
fact. No,
Now
go Don.
now I know who Don is.
You know what? I stand Don, okay? I'm a Don fan now. All right. This is
Gonna
an
get a
interesting
Don
one
jersey.
that I learned this. A Don jersey, a Celtics Don jersey. I don't know if you've ever looked this up or if you knew this fact, but how is the basket on which way you're going decided in the NBA before the game?
Oh, you see, I think it's decided by the away team
Yes, the away team chooses the basket they want to go towards. Do you know what?
in the
You know,
first half, right?
yeah,
Or
yeah, what?
because did they switch basketball? I haven't played in so long.
Yeah, they switch. Yeah,
Yeah, the reason I know that is because I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast, and they were talking about how Steve Kerr, with Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals in 2016, when they went up against Durant and all that,
right.
how he was like, we just need to try something different. So let's try going this way this time. And so that's how I know.
Yeah.
That's super interesting. The away
Yeah.
team gets to pick what they want to go first.
Yeah, and they typically, from what I was reading, they typically pick to go towards their basket to start.
Mhm.
And I guess
Get off
the
to a
idea
good
behind
start.
that, yeah, the idea behind that is to get up to a decent start, and then also so that the coach can yell defensive things in the second half if need be.
Oh,
That idea.
that makes sense.
Yeah. And then our last bit of trivia: what brand of shoe,
Oh,
other than sneakers, what brand of shoe does the 2005 David Stern dress code ban?
ban?
Yeah, there is so
Oh, in the NBA?
yeah, in the NBA, the 2005 David Stern dress code that was a response from the Malice at the Palace actually. What is there's certain things it bans. One of them is sneakers, which is kind of up in the air now, as we know.
Oh, is this like what they wear before the games and after?
Right? Yeah, it's the rules they have to wear what they can wear to the game and leaving the arena.
Okay.
Because if you remember, for the longest time, players they'd wear anything. You had
Just
who was it? That used to wear the t-shirts and jeans and stuff? I forget who it was. Tim Duncan. Tim Duncan used to wear like t-shirts and jeans to sit on the bench. When he was injured. But because it's in the rules it says players cannot wear this kind of shoe and sneakers. And what kind of shoe does it imply?
flip flops?
No,
Sandals?
I think open toe. I think it has to be closed toed. I think you're correct there, but the answer is Timberlands. Tims. You cannot wear
Can't wear
Tims.
boots.
You can't wear. No, you can wear boots, but you can't wear. It's the type of boots that
Big old
Tims are.
Timberlands.
Yeah, there's a certain name
What,
for it.
Malice in the Palace? Did somebody knock someone out with a boot?
No, I just think it's. I think it's the rules.
But they're so stylish.
I know that players have worn them before, and I think they get reprimanded. But
Such a good shoe. I need some Tims in my life.
you do not need Tims in your life. You cannot.
Maybe I'll spend my blood money. Hey man,
So
I wear jeans now. Okay.
Yeah.
I wear
Okay.
pants now.
They're called caulk boots.
Caulk.
Caulk boots.
love
I don't know why. I don't know what that means. Wikipedia says the caulk boots are a form of rugged footwear, most often associated with the timber trade. I don't know what that means.
Like caulk, like
Yeah, I know. So I guess it just means heavy duty. Like they're made with caulk, I guess. But
And
yeah, you can't
timber.
wear them.
Making
It also
log houses.
you can't make a log house. The dress code banned fashion most associated with hip hop culture included jerseys, jeans, hats, do rags, t-shirts,
Not my
large
douchebag.
jewelry, sneakers, and caulk boots. Oh,
Jeez.
yeah. Um, Under current NBA dress code regulations, if a player does not dress to participate in the game, he must dress in a manner suitable for a coach. In the NBA, a suit or a sport coat is required for coaches as well as a necktie. So there's that. Dude, if I'm ever a coach, I'm gonna go against that. I'm gonna wear like ridiculous stuff.
Gigantic V-neck down to my belly button.
All right, that's it for my that is it for my little trivia. So we
I
can move
dig
on
it.
to the third
Uh,
topic. But just
second, I guess, yeah, second main topic.
yeah,
Anyways, I can hear some goats off in the
some
distance. I
goats.
think it's
You
time to
should,
talk
you should close
about
your window.
the goat discussion, but not the greatest of all time. I'm talking about scapegoats.
Okay, I didn't want to have to talk about the white
Yeah,
mom.
no, not ready to talk about
Yeah,
goats. But so the scapegoats, the NBA loves its scapegoats.
yeah,
It's always nice to have a person you can point to and say, "This is why we suck." Like, I don't know, Neil O'Shea and the Blazers. This is why we suck.
right. You always want to you always want to have somebody that you can blame for being
Yeah,
bad.
you don't want to blame yourself or the organization, or I guess you
Right.
do. The
I
organization is the
mean,
scapegoat.
right.
So
I think I know who you're gonna bring up.
this mainly stems from talks. Basically, the general consensus is that Luke Walton is being
Yep.
fired at the end of this season.
Right.
And so I find this extremely interesting. So before we kind of delve in, I want to just lay some groundwork on my boy Luke. So he was the interim head coach for the Warriors in the 15-16 season, won 24 straight games to begin the season, 24-0, was 39-4 by the time Steve Kerr came back, and that was the team that went on to win 73 games. So he gets hired by the Lakers. He takes a 17-65 Lakers team to a 26-56, then a 35-47, and then which was their best record in like the last 5 years. And then now here comes LeBron, and I don't even know how many wins they have. I stopped paying attention because they're not going to make the playoffs.
They actually have the same amount of wins they had as last season right now.
Oh, so look, he's improving. But so my main question is, can we blame Luke Walton for the Lakers' struggles?
Good question. And what I just said, I mean, they had the same amount of wins as they had last season right now as they do right now. So they're even right now with last season. That's what I meant. Not that they're doing better. That's a great question. Coaches are, I think, the underappreciated part of the NBA. Obviously everyone respects a good coach, but when you consider, like, especially modern day NBA, it's always like, what kind of superstar do they have, and who can they build around that? It's all about the build, and which comes a lot on the GMs, because you hear a lot about GMs these days. You hear a lot about the GMs. They're much more vocal and they're much more in the limelight. But coaches are still, I mean, a coach's job is to make that team work, and so it definitely falls on the coach to win. Now, obviously, they can only do so much with their players as they can, but even a good coach, I mean, you can look at teams that were bad and then got a good coach, and then they improved. Maybe they even didn't win as many games, but the system got better, And
But
yeah, go ahead.
on this Lakers team, really, I feel it's a different case when we bring LeBron into the mixture. How much power does Luke Walton really have to make this team better?
Right.
How much can we place that blame on him?
Well, when you bring LeBron into a team like that, you're effectively setting Luke Walton back to stage one. He had that team for 2 years before LeBron.
Yeah,
2 years before LeBron, and he improved with them. He was working with them. He had a team of young rising stars, and he was trying his best.
Even last year, they finished on like a 6-game winning streak, and they had a great defense.
Right, and so I will help attribute that to Luke Walton. He was definitely working on that, but the fact is, you send him back to ground zero, but that's no excuse for him either. Like, as a coach, you have to be ready for that. Teams, GMs.
Yeah, I mean, you have LeBron James. You have
right. They're going to do
arguably one of the
everything they
greatest
can.
players.
Yeah, and they're going to do everything they can to win. And when LeBron James wants to play for you and you can still keep that young core, that seems pretty good. That seems pretty nice. But I don't know. Maybe some coaches just aren't ready for LeBron on a team. LeBron, it's LeBron. People call him Le Coach for not for no reason. It's funny.
Well,
It's a
yeah.
gag, but he's dominant. He
You
is
go
a
back to the
force
Cavs.
to be reckoned with.
The Cavs, he was the GM, essentially.
Right.
I mean, he got them to sign Tristan Thompson to that huge contract that they were like, no, please, no.
Yeah.
And then he almost basically forced them, they didn't, to trade that Nets pick that they had
Yeah.
for Paul George or something. And he
Mhm.
was like, you got to trade it. And then like he even started like well, you could argue he started playing bad and they started to lose in the winter. And he was like, see, we need to trade that pick or else we're going to lose. Like
Yeah,
that just shows how much power he had to sway a team's season into getting
Right.
what he wanted.
Yeah. I mean, LeBron, because when you have LeBron, you want to make it to the finals. That's
You
you get
expect him
LeBron
to
a
get
team,
9 straight finals.
right? And you want that, and so you have to find that balance of, are we playing this team for LeBron, or are we playing this team for us? And obviously you can still play for LeBron, and the team can be happy, and everyone can be happy. That works. I mean, the Cavaliers did that, for the most part. The Cavaliers had that for a while, a happy team playing for LeBron. So it really comes down to a balance and figuring out what works. But LeBron is also changing. We know that. We saw that. The injury this year, LeBron is also changing. And so the Lakers have to make a decision and find the good fit. And LeBron has to as well for them to win,
So can we deem Luke Walton at fault just after one season?
No, I definitely say no, especially since with LeBron's injury. I don't think you can deem him at fault. If they want to try something new, that's up to them. But I can confidently say that Luke Walton so far with the Lakers had a good coaching career, and I hope he either
Isn't gone.
I hope he
from the
isn't
league,
gone.
yeah.
I hope maybe he goes back to assistant coach for a while, but I hope whatever team fires their head coach this year, whoever it's going to be, I hope that they are. I hope that they look at Luke, because I like him. He's not a bad coach.
Yeah, and I mean, I totally forgot what I was going to say, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's just a fact. The fact of the matter is that Luke Walton took a bad team coming off of losing their superstar. Having entire Kobe. They lost Kobe.
Oh, that farewell tour was the devil.
Right. There was a
I wanted
farewell
to die.
tour. I mean, it was fun, but and they were at a loss. They were obviously in rebuild mode, but it wasn't a positive rebuild mode. It wasn't a 76ers rebuild mode. They didn't have they didn't have a bunch of staples. At the time, D'Angelo Russell wasn't doing great. He wasn't a bona fide superstar yet. He is now. Now he's.
I wouldn't say he's bona fide, but he's getting there.
I would say he's great. I love D'Angelo Russell. They had Julius Randle, who also wasn't meeting all their expectations.
Yeah, I think that was a terrible decision to let him go.
I do too. But
terrible.
Even back then, he's doing better now. But even back then, he wasn't. I mean, he wasn't in his first season. Oh, he played one game his first season.
Yeah, he broke his foot in the very.
Yeah,
I cried.
Yeah, but then even the following seasons, he averaged 11, 13, and 16 points. And then rebounds, he had 10, 8, and 8, which is actually really good. But still, he wasn't what they were hoping for, I guess, when it comes to a superstar big man. So you bring in Luke Walton, and on a team like that, where they're still having picks, they're still struggling, and they have incoming picks, they're looking towards the future, and there's so many moving parts, and Luke Walton was still able to develop some young players. He was still able to help these guys and continue and making them better, So
yeah, I just feel you can't. It's a season, and they would have made the playoffs if I can confidently say they would have made the playoffs if LeBron didn't go out. And so I think it's kind of garbage that he's going out. But what are some other scapegoats that you can kind of think of in the NBA? I've got some, but I want to see what you have.
I mean, from a fan perspective, the immediate scapegoats I think of are the Kevin Love being out for the NBA Finals in 2015.
That's real.
I mean,
Cavs would have won.
I mean, you can say that, but that's still a scapegoat. That's still saying
Yeah.
we would have won if it wasn't for this, and
Yeah.
it's Kevin Love, and
We
it's
would
not
have won
saying.
if
I guess
Kevin Love hadn't gone out and if Kyrie hadn't broken his knee.
right, and so I guess it's not so much they're blaming him, but they're blaming something, right? Which
Not
I mean, you
accepting
can.
responsibility.
I'll talk about it all day. That like I to a point I can side with that they might have won, but that the fact is that's also a scapegoat.
Yeah,
that's what I can think of. What's one that you can think of?
All right, so I've got, and it's funny actually how many of these revolve around LeBron.
Yeah.
I've got Ty Lue, another coach. I mean, LeBron, if you think out of it, his last 3 coaches so far, maybe even later, because Eric Spoelstra didn't get fired, but David Blatt gets fired.
Yeah.
Ty Lue gets fired. Who's getting fired now? Luke Walton. So obviously, when things don't work, it's not LeBron's fault. It's faulty coaching.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think of J.R. Smith and just this last year's finals, he's a scapegoat, because of game 1. If he had passed the ball the right way, who knows how that would have changed out. They would have definitely still lost. But LeBron likes to, and LeBron and Cavs fans like to blame JR for that.
Right.
It's his fault. We would have taken game 1.
I think I dropped something. I think to Carmelo Anthony as being a league scapegoat right now.
Yeah, with the Rockets.
Past two teams, Thunder and Rockets. Both players, and then some discourse from fans and stuff. Everyone's saying that he was a cancer, he was this, he was that. So I definitely
kind of seeing their point now, though, because look at how good the Rockets are now.
I mean, and Thunder.
So
I mean, you can make the point all you want, and that's fine. But
he's a scapegoat. I have that on my list. Yeah, they used him. This is a funny one. LeBron is a scapegoat for the Raptors. It's because of LeBron that they never won all the titles that they should have won these last few years. Yeah. And I think that I think with the DeMar DeRozan trade, as it's a business, it's a business, but I still think like, oh, that's kind of mean. Like, he's DeMar DeRozan, he's such a nice guy. But yeah, I think they used LeBron for a long time as well. We'd get over the hump if LeBron wasn't there. And then I now think with the DeMar DeRozan trade that they kind of push themselves past that. They're all like, okay, it was a problem with us, so now let's change the team. But I think for a long time he was their scapegoat, but he also was the epitome of the devil to them. Yeah.
One player I think too for a scapegoat, Draymond Green. I think Draymond Green is a scapegoat.
Anytime there's a problem with the war. Ooh.
I mean, for the league.
Draymond Green.
I mean, I just think that when he acts out, the league, like, and he's talked about it before. He's talked about how he thinks he's targeted by refs. And I would agree with him. I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I just think they know his antics, so they're more willing to tee him up because they don't want him to get out of hand. But he's definitely, I think, the league for setting a precedence on things. He's definitely a scapegoat. And then another scapegoat. I guess I'd call it a scapegoat. Derrick Rose. For just the Bulls in general. You talk to any Bulls fan, and they will always say, if it wasn't for his injury, we would have had a couple titles, and stuff like that.
But they still love him. Like,
right?
This is a bad scapegoat.
No, this is a scapegoat for why we didn't win, and they point towards
Derrick Rose because he's still worshipped.
Right, exactly.
And
I mean,
he's
everybody.
A great player.
The NBA everybody should love Derrick Rose. He's doing great this season. Another sixth man that we talked about earlier. I love Derrick Rose. And yeah, I mean, that's just
good comeback. Good comeback for him.
Okay, sorry about that. We ran into a technical difficulty. We're just gonna jump back into it. I'll edit it. I'll edit that and fix that. We were talking about scapegoats, but I think we're gonna move on.
I'm gonna head into the last little part I had on scapegoats. This more falls in. Yeah, I want to finish off.
Yeah, what you got?
So we introduced this scapegoat concept, talking about Luke Walton and coaches, and I really just want to ask, like, what is the point of coaches anymore?
That's a great question.
Do they actually are they still relevant in a league that's just run by superstars?
I absolutely think so. The fact is absolutely yes. Because when it comes down to play calling, mean, that's the coach. You know, that's still the coach. You know, players as superstars as they want to be, when you're out on the floor playing your heart out, you don't have time to consider yourself to be the coach and to make plays. You know, coaches know that, and plus coaches see the overall floor. I mean, even a superstar like LeBron doesn't. I mean, he's not seeing the entire. I mean, I think he does to a point. You know, it's LeBron. He has great court vision, but you're not seeing every moving piece. You know,
Yeah.
and then coaches also comes down to playing time. You know, who do you put in? Who do you replace when somebody fouls out? That sort of thing. So I think they absolutely have a place on the floor. I just think it's different than what it used to be.
Yeah.
It's an adapting role, and that's what happens with the league. And if for every team, it's different too. You know, the coach for the Suns, who I can't pronounce his name.
Igor or whatever.
Yeah, Igor. That's different than Luke Walton's role. You know, Igor right now his role is a lot more than Luke Walton's. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Except it's
I
just
think
lose games.
yeah, but he's developing. I mean, they've done well. They've done pretty well in the past couple games actually. The Suns are doing better.
And that's what I was thinking. You know, the coach really helps to find a system that works. Right. I think of Budenholzer right now with the Bucks.
Yeah.
Huge improvement from the Bucks the Bucks last year and the Bucks this year. They're relatively the same team, but you know, you take a Coach of the Year award winner in Budenholzer, and you know, it just elevates them.
I mean, they're not going to make the finals either way, but you're right.
Okay, yeah. Popovich.
I mean, they won't even make the Eastern Conference Finals because of the Celtics.
That's for another time.
Okay, we'll get into that. Just continue.
Popovich, with just his ability to develop talent, right?
Yeah.
You know, to take these players that, like, who the heck is David Bertans and why is he lighting up the league in 3-pointers right now? You know, just his ability to do that. Brad Stevens and his strategizing, how they beat the 76ers last year, you know, deciding, you know what, let's lay off of Ben Simmons a little bit and let's really clamp down on Joel Embiid. He's the one who's actually doing something.
Yeah. I mean, coaches as well, I mean, they have a say in player development. You know, obviously with a player like LeBron, you're not going to have a say in that. You know, LeBron is developed. You know, he is there. But coaches are going to have a lot to say, especially Greg Popovich, in player development. You know, they're going to look at a player who might have, especially when they're young, they might have a lot of facets. They might have a lot of ways that they can develop, and they're going to decide where they want them to develop the most. You know, you think about players that had complete turnarounds or changed things up. James Harden is a great example. You know, he went to the Rockets. We talked about him a little bit. He was on the Thunder, went to the Rockets, and he got lethal, and he became a better player. I think that was on his own accord to a point. I think he's a hard worker. But then you look at, they got Chris Paul, and like the fact that there were times when Chris Paul would be injured, and I mean, he would come out and he'd play point guard incredibly well.
Well, no, yeah, and that's the year before Chris Paul came. There was that game of zone where Mike D'Antoni's like, point guard.
Yeah, exactly.
And James Harden came out and he averaged like 10 assists, and it was like, this dude's a point guard now.
Yeah, and so that falls on the coach, you know. And I think players that are welcoming to coach's advice, like James Harden, I completely think that he will listen to his coach. I think those players a lot of times succeed really well if they have a good coach. You know, there are coaches that don't always make the best decisions for their players, but a good coach and a good player that can work together and listen, they do really well.
Yeah, and that's the last point I had, is that, you know, these coaches I listed, Budenholzer, Popovich, Stevens, you know, they have players who are content, and they have players who, Kyrie might have somewhat of an attitude, you know, LaMarcus had an attitude for a bit, but they've got players who don't have these gigantic egos.
Yeah.
You know, like Giannis is humble. Kyrie, you know, he's a different case, but he's willing to listen for the most part. And LaMarcus Aldridge has calmed down. You know, to be a great coach, you have to have these players, and whether that comes down to just getting those players or being able to make players respect you, you know, it's a two-man game. You can't have a great coach without willing and able players.
Right, but as well, I mean, on top of that as well, though, as a coach, you have to be ready to change for a player, though, especially in the league. You know, like we just talked about.
Yeah, that's what Popovich did for Aldridge.
Yeah, right, and with Luke Walton, that might have been his error. You know, maybe he doesn't have the experience yet to change everything for a player. You know, to make a turnaround and say, how do I change everything for LeBron? And you know, maybe that's just not his style. You know, some coaches are better fit for having a team that they can develop and like having a team they can, I don't want to say control because that sounds a little bit like ownership-y, but you know, that they can make their team You know what I mean?
Yeah. Cool.
I say let's move on to your third idea, considering time. So I say we move on to your third factor. We'll skip my other sub idea. Maybe we'll bring it up another time.
All right. Cool. So I wanted to talk about the point guard himself, Chris Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to begin this, of course, by expressing my love for Chris Paul. Like what I want to bring up isn't anything against Chris Paul. I mean, he's one of the last true point guards in my opinion. You know, I think once he retires, besides maybe Trae Young, that like model of a point guard is gone. He's a dominant player. He's obviously a first ballot Hall of Famer. There's no doubt. But just this Houston stint. So to begin with, the Houston contract, obviously that happened. Did that even seem like a good idea last year when he was playing really well?
Yeah. I mean, the contract extension was
Gigantic.
But I think for Chris Paul, that was his give it to me or I'm not gonna.
Yeah, it's the only way to get him.
Stay. Exactly. So I think he was trying to secure the bag, which I respect immensely. You know, players these days have to do that sometimes. And if the team has money and they're willing to do it, and you want to have a player that you can end with on good terms and respect and enjoy, do it. You know, it wasn't ridiculous. He wasn't getting a supermax because he hadn't been with them long enough. And it's not the biggest contract you can give somebody, but it's a respectful contract that I'm happy Chris Paul got. Was it best for the Rockets? No. Maybe not. But I mean, it's not horrible, I guess.
I think it was definitely kind of a win now mistake.
Yes.
You know, you were coming off of this high where we took Golden State to 7 games. You know, we want to win.
Right.
And then you do that, and it's like, all right, but if you don't win, you just screwed yourself.
Uh-huh.
So Chris Paul this season, not Chris Paul last season. Is he really, can he still really help the Rockets in the role he's playing now? I have some stats I want to show you.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think so. He's averaging the same amount of assists.
Yeah. So let's dive. These are from NBA.com. So his player impact, he's 60th in the league right now.
Uh-huh.
Offensive rating, he's 108th in the league. Defensive rating, he's 186th in the league. He's injury prone. We already know that.
Yeah.
Some stuff that I found really interesting from The Ringer. So from an article called "How Much Does Chris Paul Have Left?" Jonathan Chijarks, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he presented these percentiles from last season and this season. Mm-hmm. So last season, Chris Paul was in the 92nd percentile in isolations. He's in the 69th this season. Last season, he was in the 91st percentile in pick and roll ball handling. He's now in the 36th. And then finishing out around the rim, he was in the 76th. He's now in the 20th. And basically what that whole article says is how Chris Paul and James Harden playing together is not good for the Rockets. How Chris Paul plays significantly better when James Harden isn't on the court and vice versa.
Well, I think that comes down to the fact that James Harden, especially this season, since I think the Rockets have gotten worse this season as a team, he's playing hero ball.
Yeah.
You know, we've read the articles, we've seen that. He's playing hero ball. And even with Chris Paul on the floor, he has to continue to do that. You know, Chris Paul is 33, I think now, 33 or 34. So he's not his prime, or maybe he's going. People would argue he's leaving his prime, but Chris Paul has always been injury prone, always, since the beginning. Like literally, he's always been injury prone.
To the benefit of the Blazers,
right? And so the fact is they're not going to do great on the floor together because James Harden is the first scoring option, and he is the first option to revolve the entire offense around. You know. For defense-wise, he's just older. I mean, Chris Paul is older. And then, like you talked about, Chris Paul isn't playing in the NBA that he used to play in. He's not guarding as many pure point guards as he used to. You know? You put him up against Russell Westbrook, and that's a different style. I mean, Russell Westbrook is pretty close to pure point guard as you might look for the modern-day superstar point guards. You know, he's about the size and everything like that. But he's a different beast than Chris Paul can guard. I've seen Chris Paul lock up Damian Lillard. I've seen Chris Paul lock up some of the newer point guards, but it's few and far between these days.
Yeah, I mean he is having not arguably he is having the worst season of his career, but he's still a good player.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm going to introduce a really crazy concept. All
Okay.
right.
I'm ready.
Okay. Just hear me out. I'm going to present a lot of stuff. So the Rockets, they're playing well. Obviously, they've really come up from where they were at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm. Fourth seed,
But
or
third,
sixth seed, or third seed.
third.
What's the? Okay.
It goes
Continue.
Warriors, Nuggets, Rockets, Blazers,
Blazers.
Thunder.
Yes, you're right. I'm looking at it right now.
All right. So here's what I think can fix the Rockets.
Oh,
I think
okay.
they need to go back to 2 seasons ago when Harden ran point guard.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Paul is a point guard, right? Well, because they still do kind of play where Harden's point guard. Chris Paul's a point guard, meaning he needs the ball in his hands. He's not a shooting guard. He needs Harden to play that shooting guard role. But because of what D'Antoni's done, Harden's no longer a shooting guard. You know, he is that ball handler now. So here we go. I think Chris Paul needs to come off the bench.
Okay, that's
And
blasphemy, but it's
And I think his minutes need to be staggered with Harden's. He still needs to play 30 plus minutes a game.
Right.
But he needs to play all the minutes when Harden isn't playing, and then some when they are together.
Okay.
Here's my reason. Chris Paul is a true point guard, like I said. He excels at making those around him better. He doesn't need to make James Harden better. The Rockets bench, absolute garbage. Yeah. So imagine a bench with Chris Paul at the point guard going up against other teams' benches. He's gonna destroy them.
You want to start Austin Rivers at shooting guard? I mean, who you?
It would be Austin Rivers, maybe
Shumpert, very small forward.
It doesn't really matter because Gordon. It's just Harden hero ball. Yeah, it doesn't matter who goes in there.
I mean that's an interesting take. I mean, you look at teams, and there are teams doing that right now. You take a good player and you have them come out of the second unit to dominate. I think not just because of my bias, but you think the Celtics mostly because they have enough good players to do it. But Gordon Hayward is leading their bench right now. And he's actually come off the bench.
He's been picking it up.
Exactly. But like you also said, Chris Paul, I mean, the bench of the Rockets it's not good. They don't have a great bench. And so the fact with Chris Paul that I think we have to consider is the fact that Chris Paul is a facilitator, and if you give him bad people to facilitate to, it's not going to help as much. It's going to be better maybe, but it's not going to be what you expect. It's not going to be somebody leading a second unit. It's going to be somebody trying to lead a second unit and possibly not helping, not as much. It would help, but it wouldn't help as much as you'd think.
Well, I think just having Chris Paul out there alone's obviously going to make a huge difference. I mean, obviously their bench isn't
huge. We just talked about his age and everything like that. You think about
a lot of seconds. Suck. I think all of the reason that he's been so bad this year is because he's with Harden. I think if he got to, he's a point guard. He needs that ball. If we can give Chris Paul that ball, and if we can let him dictate what's going on, I think that team improves. Obviously, this is never going to happen because Chris Paul is not going to accept a bench role.
Right.
That's just not going to happen.
I can see where you're coming from, and I can agree with you. I would agree that it would change up the Rockets, and it might be good to help them. But I mean, I also consider the fact that James Harden's on the floor. You double team James Harden, and then say they double team James Harden, and then you leave Chris Paul open. Chris Paul is still elite enough to be that second option. Like you're taking away James Harden's second option, and he doesn't always need a second option. Sometimes James Harden is the first, second, third, and fourth option when it comes to scoring.
Yeah. And that's the thing because Chris Paul, I mean, with his injuries, they're pretty accustomed to playing without him.
Right, and that's fine. But you get to the finals, and you have players playing in playoff mode and playing playoff defense. That's different. And James Harden, I don't think he'll get clapped up, but if he only scores 25 points in a game, the Rockets are in danger. They need somebody else on the floor at the same time who will support that. And Chris Paul is the only one on the team that can do that.
I envision playoff time. I think Chris Paul is going to become a liability for the Rockets and
I think
become almost borderline unplayable in those situations.
I think he's going to become. I mean, just like the last year's playoffs, right? It's him. It's up to Chris Paul whether they win or lose,
And he's out.
because of that. And exactly, if he's out,
It's just that he's different Chris Paul now, though.
I mean, than last season, I don't think completely. I mean, his points per game are down, but his assists are, I think, a little bit up.
He is averaging the most turnovers though he's ever averaged. So,
I mean, there's that. I mean, that's fair. But the fact is, I still think he's only 33, still Chris Paul. If he's healthy, that's the biggest asterisk in the world because he is healthy every other season. He's more healthy, and then he's less healthy, and then he'll play 60 games in a season, and then he'll play 40 games in a season. It's just like it's so back and forth. And then some games he'll play the entire second half of the season into the playoffs, and then get injured. Sometimes he'll play sporadically in the playoffs. And so it comes down to him and what he wants to do. And if he gets injured, and then that's on the Rockets. Yeah. If he's injured, I don't see the Rockets getting past the finals, the conference finals at all. We know that Warriors are too much. They can't take the Warriors anymore. Even though they were close last year. But they won't get past the second round without Chris Paul.
Yeah, I don't buy into much of the Rockets hype, whether they have Chris Paul or not. I'm just not a believer.
I know. I'm right there.
I don't believe in the moon landings. I do.
You got some people coming after you now. But
one of our two listeners just left.
Yeah, I know. We went from 2 to -1 somehow. Your mom turned off her phone. But that's what it comes down to. And that's it with a lot of teams. But the Rockets are in a worse spot where their bench can't pick the slack. And so I like Chris Paul, but I see him playing out this contract, and then if he does sign one, it's going to be like a minimum. He's going to be a veteran that maybe is on a team to be like a player coach, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and obviously, like I said, this is a crazy, insane take on the Rockets. So I don't expect anyone to support it, and I don't know if I fully support it. Mm-hmm. But if this doesn't happen this year, it could very well happen next year.
It will happen.
But ultimately, it's going to come down to his ego, because I don't see him ever accepting a bench role. I mean, the dude's is a Hall of Famer.
I know. I mean, I see it happening eventually because it has to. Yeah. He's going to play with the Rockets on the current contract until he's 37.
Arguably,
I think 37. And in the next 2 years, he'll be done. I mean, I'm not going to say he won't play, but he won't be productive enough to start, which is tough to see. But he'll have to respect the bench role eventually, which players can come into. They can seem like they won't want it, but they can come into it. You know what I mean? And I think he will. Point guards especially, because they're floor generals and they're facilitators, they can come into that role really well. And once they embrace it, it can help a team. So I'm not going to say you're wrong. It can definitely help a team. But they would have to be on board and completely embrace it, really.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. If Chris Paul embraced this, I don't think the starting lineup is hurt too much, because the starting lineup is James Harden. But I don't see a Warriors bench being able to do anything against Chris Paul on the bench.
No, yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, so that's my crazy wild take to make all our listeners think this podcast is uncredible.
Yeah, not incredible, uncredible.
Anything else you feel we didn't cover that needs a little more love?
No, I think that's pretty good. Again, for our viewers, if you exist, this is our first time ever doing this. Neither of us we listen to podcasts, but neither of us have a great history of doing podcasts, or even public speaking. We're not even that great at that. So if there are any listeners and you want to give us feedback that is more than just, actually, give us any feedback. If you want to tell us that our ideas suck, please do.
We'll set up an email.
Yeah, because eventually our goals for this podcast are to bring you guys on. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're an NBA player who wants to have your voice disguised and you want to say some stuff, because I will protect you. Or if you are some Jim Bob from North Dakota who wants a team.
He just wants to be on a podcast.
Yeah, if you just want to be on a podcast, I will let you on my podcast because these aren't live, so I can edit it all I want. So you can be on my podcast. I don't care. But that's our goal with this podcast, and I'm really happy that we recorded this. I think we're gonna try to do this weekly. Right now, the only place you can really listen to it is on YouTube. Eventually, soon enough, it will be on iTunes and Spotify, though. That's not very hard. So thank you if you're listening. Thank you for listening to this first podcast. Ezra, you want to take us out?
Yeah, so before we head out, just want to do something that I kind of like. It's going to be called buying or selling.
Oh,
so
I'm just another thing.
Oh, it's super short. It's just going to be so like we do the weekly roundup in the beginning. We're going to do buying or selling in the end. I'm just gonna say some things to you.
Okay.
And you're gonna say either you're buying that, like yes, I agree, or you're selling that, like no, that's not gonna happen.
Okay.
Ready? All right.
Yes.
So, we know at the last Toronto game with the Lakers just a couple nights ago, LeBron said we'll be in touch to Kawhi apparently. So Kawhi to the Lakers, buying or selling?
Selling.
Selling. Okay.
Kawhi,
KD leaves Golden State, buying or selling?
Buying.
I'd buy 20,000 shares in that. AD to the Lakers.
I will buy that for now.
I'm gonna sell.
I'm gonna buy that just for now because
as much as I'd like to buy it, I don't think it's gonna happen. Houston is a championship contender.
Sell.
Yeah, so many people think this though.
No, I'm selling.
It amazes me. Sacramento can still make the playoffs.
I'll buy that.
I have to sell. I'm depressed. I wish they would, but I don't think.
I do too. And I'm buying it out of hope, and I'm buying it out of faith.
Buying it because the stock's low, right?
Right. I'm buying it because the stock is low, and it's a high return, baby. Let's go.
And lastly, LeBron is the problem in LA.
I'm gonna sell that.
You're gonna sell that?
I'm gonna sell that because it's not just him. There's no way it's just him. There are problems in LA, but I'm not saying that he's the problem.
All right. Thanks everybody for taking the time to listen to our show. Thank you, Everett, for being the front court today. We hope you enjoyed what you heard, and you'll be back to hear us again. Until next time, this is Backcourt to Front Court. See ya.